guys, Austin again. You probably saw my other two videos that I uploaded about the X2 and the SHP 9500. The next video I'm going to be talking, or that video, the next headphone I'm talking about is a newer one from KOSS that really a lot of people aren't talking about, but I think they should. That is the KOSS PRO4S. It is a $150 headphone from KOSS, and most people in the internet, especially on HeadFi, really the only headphones you hear about from KOSS is the DJ100, the DJ200, the KSC75, KSC I think 35, and the what's the other one? Porta-Pro. Those are really the only ones you hear about. But with this one, I think surpasses a lot of those in a big way. Now, KOSS really isn't known for higher quality headphones except for just a select few. Most of their modern offerings aren't so good. The modern Pro4AA and the Pro4AA TT, or Pro4AA T, are supposed to be newer variations of the old Pro4AA model. I found that the new AA sounds nothing like the old AA, and in fact, while it's using newer technology, it doesn't sound as good to me. The AAT is... I had the thing for a while before I got into high end, and it was okay. I had the KTX Pro 1 as well, which is an awesome headphone. I had the Pro4 3As, and those were pretty good. They're a little bright and pretty thin sounding, but that's that. But a lot of the modern stuff isn't so good. So I saw these pop up online. I saw, what was his name? Mike. I forget his YouTube channel, but he does all the headphone unboxings. And he had gotten these in, and I was like, oh damn, KOSS has a new headphone? And I looked into it, and it was a new Pro 4 model. And I was shocked to see that it's low impedance, high sensitivity, all new drivers. And also the shape of it, it's kind of like a throwback to their old Pro 4 the Pro 4 AAAs. So maybe I've had this for like 4 or 5 months now. I bought it, and I gotta say I am pretty blown away by it. Like, I wasn't expecting much, but this thing is pretty damn good. The first thing I'm gonna start with is a whole disclaimer about the sound quality. KOSS, they market this as a neutral studio headphone. It is not neutral. Not neutral at all. It is bassy. It is borderline bass head, as far as bass goes to me. Besides the bass, the treble and the mid-range are fairly clean, and the mid-range is not bloated, and the treble is not sharp or edgy to me. No, there is a little bit of sibilance, but not much. Now, the bass, it is pretty tight, and it has a lot of impact to it, and a lot of deepening. It seems to extend fairly deep, but rolls off quite early on. Texturing on the bass is so-so, like it doesn't have a lot of that. If I didn't touch on detail, it is nicely detailed bass. Mid-range is a bit leaner, I guess. If you've heard the DJ100, these are considerably leaner in the mid-range than that, but it is very clean sounding, it's very detailed. It doesn't sound hollow or lifeless because there's less mid-range. There's still mid-range there, it's just a lot less than the DJ100. Oh, excuse me. Treble-wise, treble is elevated on here. I would say it's more in line. What would you consider? What would I compare it to treble-wise? That's not too bright. If you've heard, I can't think of anything you could compare it to. It's not like DT880 treble or 990 or 770 treble. There's still treble there, but it's not, like I said, it wasn't like bothersome, sibilant or anything. It's pretty airy. It doesn't really extend up too far. There is some extension, but yeah, that's really all I can say for sound quality itself. Oh, Soundstage. I totally overpassed it again. But Soundstage for these is pretty closed in. It's definitely bigger than any of the Grottos I've heard. Like up to the RS1, it's still maybe a bit bigger than the RS1. But it's pretty confined sounding just because of the cup. Because I did open these up at one point, and the driver's pretty much right against the back of the cup almost. So one thing I did is I had some adhesive felt, some really thin stuff. I mean, it's not even like an eighth of an inch, like really thin, like a 1/16th, if that. And I have that on the back of here and a little bit on the inside. And it does help with a lot of like the resonances of the headphone. So that's a mod you guys can do if you get this. But yeah, that's about it now for sound quality. Amping wise, these things don't need an amp. These are probably one of the easiest to drive headphones I have next to any of the IEMs or the X2s. These things get loud so fast on any of my amps. It is crazy. I have to purposely knock down the gain settings if I'm going to listen to this, just so I can get like a good range on the volume dial. Otherwise, it's like I plug them in and I turn the dial up, it's like zip, and then they're loud. It is so fast. That's the high sensitivity of it. And they're super low impedance. I think they're, I forget the exact impedance. I think they're like 40 ohms, somewhere in there, but it's pretty low impedance. You don't really need an amp for them though, but it does help with the bass, I found. It does take control of that bass, because the bass, there's so much of it. If you're listening to like some really bass heavy rappers, like nonstop barrage of bass, it does seem to get a little muddled up in there. But this will tighten that up quite a bit from what I've heard with this guy. Like I said, all of my lower impedance are always played on the V200, and for these, I'd say you need an amp that is definitely warmer, maybe a little rolled off in the treble, and then I think then these things will really start singing for you. Portability wise, I mean, they're so small on your head. You can use them for portable use. They do isolate a lot, so you don't want to be out. I guess they isolate a lot, so if you're crossing the road, be mindful, because not too long ago I was using these on my way to work, and lo and behold, there's a car turning. And I didn't hear the car. That's my fault for not looking, but I didn't hear the car. And that should tell you, like, how isolating these things can be. But that's really, I think, all I got to talk about. I'm not really going to touch on the build quality too much, because if you've had a DJ100, the build quality is fairly similar, same headband. This assembly is here is basically the same. One thing though, which I think is a horrible design idea for them, was how the cups swing out and they're supposed to lock into place. There's usually like these two little tabs on this part on the inside that lock into place, but mine broke off within 2 uses, so it doesn't stay anymore on either side. So that's one downside to the build. You can see it kind of stays for like a second, like it catches it, but that's a downside to the build. But it's not really a big one, I guess, because the main thing is the sound quality here. And are these worth $150? I'd say yes, they are. Now I'm going to compare them directly to the SHP 9500, because I said those are good in the $150 range. Are these better than this? I mean, are those better than this? Those are, yes, those are better. But it's for different things. Like, that's very neutral. You can use that for monitoring. This one here is a more bassy headphone. You could probably use, I guess, if you're DJing, it could be more of a DJ thing. I would never use these for mastering. These things are not neutral enough for mastering. If there's a lot less bass, you can do it. Right now there's so much elevated bass in these that if you're going to master something and be like, oh, the bass sounds good, and you also be playing on a speaker and it's like, where's the bass? I tried it. It's really just like so much bass. But I guess the last thing, since we're talking about the bass, I should have touched on it before, is in direct comparison to the DT770 like 80 ohm, that's known as like the best bass head headphone for like a long time. those still have a lot more bass than these. These ones have more bass than my X2s, which I think are probably the bassiest headphone I own next to this. The 990s, while they have elevated bass, this doesn't touch X2 or this. This is like definition of bloat. And I think it has more bass than the M50s from Audio-Technica. I think the bass, well, it's been so long since I've heard the M50s, I can't compare. But I'll just say that I think that from memory the bass in this is better, but I can't compare exactly, so I'm going to omit that part until I actually hear more of the M50. But I think I've rambled on way long enough for these. You guys all have a good day. Look forward to my next videos. Next one's going to be the UR55. Okay, bye.